Alright guys, what if I told you that a quiet war of words between two of basketball's biggest superstars has been twisted into a full-blown crisis? For the last 2 years, the basketball world has been captivated by the dynamic between the established queen of the WNBA, A'ja Wilson, and the rookie who changed the game, Caitlin Clark. It's been framed as a rivalry, a clash of generations, but behind the headlines, a much more dramatic story has been spun up online. Now, rumors are swirling that a secret power struggle within Team USA has reached a breaking point, with the fallout supposedly ending one legendary career to officially launch a new dynasty. This isn't just about on-court matchups anymore. It's about a narrative of influence, power, and the unwritten rules of a league in transformation. The story emerging from the shadows is one of alleged jealousy, backroom politics, and locker room tension. This is the story of how a series of comments were framed as calculated attacks, and how that narrative, true or not, has threatened to tear apart one of the most dominant basketball teams in the world. To understand how we got here, we have to go back. Before the whispers and the alleged snubs, there was a kingdom, and it had a queen. A'ja Wilson was, and in many ways still is, the undisputed titan of the WNBA. We're talking about a force of nature, a multi-time league MVP, a WNBA champion, a finals MVP, and a perennial Olympic gold medalist. She is the anchor of the Las Vegas Aces, a team built around her unique blend of power and skill. For years, the league revolved around her. She was the standard. Then in 2024, a comet entered the atmosphere. Her name was Caitlin Clark. Fresh off a historic NCAA career that shattered viewership records, Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she detonated in it. The Indiana Fever was suddenly the hottest ticket in sports. TV ratings skyrocketed. The Caitlin Clark effect became a mainstream phenomenon. She was an economic engine. On the court, she was just as advertised. She won Rookie of the Year, and while she didn't break the single-season rookie assist record, she did set the single-game record with a stunning display of court vision. Naturally, these two forces were destined to collide. The powerhouse Aces and the upstart Fever met in the WNBA playoffs. The games were physical and intense, but the story that would set the stage for the coming drama was happening off the court. It began with an interview. As one of the most influential figures in sports, A'ja Wilson was featured in Time magazine. In the article, she spoke about the attention Clark was receiving and touched a nerve. She talked about how race plays a factor in media coverage, suggesting that the media's intense focus on a new white star risked erasing the history built by black players who have long carried the league. On its face, her point was part of a larger, important conversation, but in the hypersensitive world of sports media, it was immediately framed as a direct shot at Caitlin Clark. Was Wilson jealous? Was she bitter? The narrative machine kicked into high gear. Wilson's supporters argued she was speaking a difficult truth. Clark's supporters saw it as sour grapes. Wilson herself clarified that her comments were not a hit at Clark, whose talent she has praised, but about preserving the league's history. But the damage was done. The first tremor had been felt. A line had been drawn in the sand, and the idea of a rivalry was no longer just a fun debate. It felt personal. That Time magazine interview wasn't an isolated incident. Instead, it became the opening salvo in what many perceived as a subtle but persistent campaign to chip away at the pedestal Caitlin Clark had been placed upon. It was a pattern that, once you saw it, you couldn't unsee. Then came the shoe deal drama. Reports surfaced that Nike had signed Caitlin Clark to a massive, multi-year signature shoe deal reportedly worth up to $28 million. It was a landmark deal, one of the richest in women's basketball history. Around this time, rumors and unverified speculation began to bubble up on YouTube and social media. The narrative pushed by some creators was that A'ja Wilson, who has her own signature shoe but not on that scale, was privately furious. While there is no concrete evidence to support claims that she threw a tantrum, that's the story that took hold in the online rumor mill. It fit the narrative of a reigning MVP feeling slighted and overshadowed. Wilson wasn't entirely alone in this, which only added fuel to the fire. Other league veterans seemed to join the chorus of skepticism. Diana Taurasi, a legend in her own right, famously said that reality is coming for Clark, predicting she would struggle against the physicality of the WNBA. It felt like the old guard was circling the wagons, resistant to the idea that this one player could so completely change their world. Through it all, Caitlin Clark's response was a masterclass in emotional discipline. She never took the bait. She never fired back. When asked about comments from other players, her answer was always the same: respect for the veterans who paved the way, and a focus on her team. She let her game do the talking. While veterans questioned her, she was putting up historic numbers. While they debated her impact, she was filling their arenas with new fans. This stark contrast in their public approach was critical. Clark was seen as the graceful, focused protagonist, while Wilson, fairly or not, was increasingly cast in the role of the bitter antagonist. By late 2025, the quiet war of words was about to allegedly escalate into a full-blown crisis. The stage was the Team USA minicamps, the crucial training sessions in preparation for the 2026 FIBA World Cup. Both Aja Wilson and Caitlin Clark were there, with Clark having been invited to participate in the December 2025 camp. Wilson arrived as the established leader, while Clark was there to claim her place. What happened next is the subject of the most explosive rumor to hit women's basketball in years. A story pieced together from unverified podcasts, anonymous fan forums, and a tidal wave of online speculation. It must be stated clearly, as of now, this is all unconfirmed. USA Basketball has made no official announcements about the final 2026 roster, but the story being told in the shadows is so dramatic it has taken on a life of its own. According to these rumors, the atmosphere at the mini-camps was tense, with the alleged friction between Wilson and Clark creating a divide. The coaching staff and selection committee, so the story goes, were watching closely and saw a potential power struggle that could poison a team expected to win gold. And then the bombshell. The story alleges that Aja Wilson received a call or text message that was blunt and brutal. She was not going to be on the roster for the 2026 World Cup. Not as a starter, not as a reserve. She was out. The Queen, the multi-time MVP, was being sidelined. Why? The justification, according to the rumor mill, was a culmination of everything that had been building for 2 years. It was the Time magazine comments. It was the perceived pattern of undermining Clark. It was the belief that her alleged jealousy had created a toxic dynamic. The committee, so the story goes, had made a choice. They were betting on the future, and that future was Caitlin Clark. In the same breath, the whispers claimed that Clark was not just on the team, but was being handed the keys as the new floor general. This wasn't just a roster move, it was a coronation. In this narrative, the selection committee was sending a chilling message: the power structure has shifted. For a move this drastic to be believable, there had to be more than just bad blood. Sidelining a player of Aja Wilson's caliber couldn't just be about locker room politics. And so another layer of the rumor emerged, a basketball-centric theory designed to justify the unthinkable. It's a theory that centers on the different officiating styles between the WNBA and international play, and it paints Wilson not as a villain, but as a potential liability. Here's the breakdown. The theory, pushed by online analysts, is all about physicality. In the WNBA, Wilson's game is a masterpiece of modern post play, built on her expert ability to use her body to create space and draw fouls. She sets bone-jarring screens and initiates contact, and her free throw rate is consistently among the league's best. But FIBA, the governing body for international basketball, is a different world. The officiating is notoriously stricter. A subtle moving screen that's ignored in a WNBA game is often an immediate offensive foul in a FIBA game. The theory goes that USA Basketball's analytics department saw this and flagged Wilson's dominant style as a huge risk. Could their offensive centerpiece spend a gold medal game in foul trouble? Now, let's be clear, this is highly speculative. The major hole in this theory is that Aja Wilson is already a multiple-time Olympic gold medalist and a 2-time FIBA World Cup champion. She has not only played under FIBA rules but has thrived and dominated, even earning MVP honors at the Paris 2024 Olympics and the 2022 World Cup. However, the rumors narrative provides a counterpoint. What if the committee's priority is no longer just talent but a style that minimizes risk? This is where Caitlin Clark re-enters the picture. Her game, built on pure skill, vision, and long-range shooting, is seen as perfectly FIBA-proof. She doesn't rely on overpowering defenders, she outsmarts them. Her game is universally translatable. The rumor suggests the committee saw Clark as the safer bet for the global stage. In this light, the alleged decision wasn't just a punishment, it was a cold, strategic pivot. A bombshell of this magnitude, even as a rumor, doesn't just impact 2 players, it sends shockwaves through the entire league. The alleged sidelining of Aja Wilson would be a seismic event, and the speculative fallout began to spread immediately. The most fascinating consequence was the idea of a sudden shift in tone from other players. Think back to the veterans who had been so vocal. The rumor narrative asks a compelling question. If a star as powerful as Aja Wilson could be cast aside for speaking her mind, what message does that send to everyone else? Would you think twice before criticizing the league's new golden goose? The speculation is that a chilling effect would ripple through the WNBA. The era of openly questioning Caitlin Clark would be over. This brings us to the sponsors. The WNBA's explosion in popularity is linked to corporate money, and much of that money is following Caitlin Clark. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm. These brands are investing in a narrative of positive growth. Drama and infighting are bad for business. The theory circulating is that corporate partners want unity and a feel-good story. Did this corporate pressure play a role in the alleged decision? In professional sports, it's a question that has to be asked. Even as these rumors about her national team future swirled, Wilson's status within the WNBA itself remained unassailable. This creates a fascinatingly awkward dynamic. How could she be the queen of the WNBA but an outcast from its national team, a dominant force from May to September, but a spectator for the World Cup? This duality is the crux of the drama. It suggests she may have won her battles in the league, but lost the war for the heart of the national team program. When you zoom out from the daily drama and the speculation, you can see the faint outline of a much larger story. This isn't just about a feud, it's about a fundamental power shift in women's basketball. It's an evolution, and that process can be brutal for those who seem unwilling to adapt. For years, the WNBA was built on the foundation laid by players like A'ja Wilson. They were dominant athletes who fought for respect, visibility, and fair pay. Wilson's era was defined by grinding out wins and building a championship culture, but Caitlin Clark represents a paradigm shift. She didn't just bring skills, she brought an audience and a level of media attention the league had only dreamed of. A healthy ecosystem would see these two forces as complementary. Wilson, the foundation of excellence, and Clark, the catalyst for explosive growth. But the alleged cracks in their relationship exposed the challenges of such a rapid transformation. The conflict became a proxy war for the soul of the league, the old guard's grit versus the new wave's hype. If the rumors of the 2026 roster decision are to be believed, then a choice has been made. The powers that be have supposedly decided that the future lies in embracing the new wave, even at the expense of a decorated champion. The lesson Wilson allegedly learned is that in this new WNBA, Caitlin Clark's gravity is simply too strong to fight. She doesn't just bend defenses, she bends the entire league, the media, and now perhaps the national team program itself. This, then, is the solution to the power struggle. It is the crowning of a new queen, a definitive statement that the Clark era has officially begun. So we're left with a story of ambition, rivalry, and a kingdom in upheaval. We have a A'ja Wilson, a multi-time MVP and champion, who, according to a hurricane of rumors, may have been sidelined from the team she once led. And we have Caitlin Clark, the phenom whose gravitational pull has reshaped everything around her. The narrative is powerful. A queen who allegedly sought to undermine the princess, only to find herself locked out of the castle. But the truth remains shrouded in speculation. Was this a just consequence for a pattern of negative behavior? Was it a cold, calculated business decision? Or is this a case of a veteran star being unfairly punished by a narrative that has spun out of control? Perhaps A'ja Wilson really did learn the hard way that in this new era of the WNBA, the unwritten rule is that you simply do not go after Caitlin Clark. Or perhaps this is all just a whirlwind of internet drama, and the real story has yet to be written. What is certain is that the dynamic between these two incredible athletes will define women's basketball for years to come. What do you think? Did A'ja Wilson's comments backfire, costing her a spot on Team USA? Or is she the victim of a runaway narrative? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.